let's go on to our next topic. And this is one of my favorite topics. This is the bragging rights trophy, named directly after this show. And I picked out 4 teams that I awarded the bragging right trophy for this week. The first team, of course, Notre Dame. Now, I know Clemson didn't have their star quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, Heisman contender, but their backup quarterback, he's pretty good too. The problem with Clemson was their defense. Their defense has looked a little shaky the past 2 games, not just Notre Dame, but Boston College as well. But I still predicted Clemson to win this game. But Notre Dame, they look pretty good. Ian Book, he still needs some work, though. I'm not going to lie. He did enough for Notre Dame to win, but he really didn't look all that impressive. Here's a little tidbit for y'all, and I didn't know this till about a week ago when one of my other friends told me about it. The last time Notre Dame won a national championship was back in 1988, and it was against my team, West Virginia, but that's the year that the Lakers and the Dodgers and the Irish won their respective national championships or professional championships. Well, the Lakers and the Dodgers have already done their job, so this could be the magical year for the Irish. We'll see how that turns out. I just thought that was a crazy coincidence. I think that would be really cool if that happened, to be honest with you. But Ian Book, he went 22 for 39, 310 yards, and 1 touchdown. So he had a respectable game. That tight end for Notre Dame, he looked really good. The running back, Kyren Williams, 23 carries for 140 yards, 3 touchdowns. So Notre Dame, they had their way on the passing and on the running side of the offense. Clemson couldn't stop anything. I knew when that game went into overtime, I knew that Notre Dame was going to win because Clemson was not going to stop Notre Dame, especially at the 25-yard line. So Notre Dame, they get awarded the first bragging rights trophy. The next team, Florida. Again, I was wrong. I thought Georgia was going to beat Florida. I guess the real reason that I picked Georgia was I believe it when I see it, because the past few years, Florida fans have been saying, we're better than Georgia. We're going to do it. And I was like, I kind of believed it because Georgia they've never really had a great offense. Well, this year they don't have hardly any offense. Florida hangs 44 on them, and the final score was 44-28. That's why Florida is getting the bragging rights trophy as well. And for Florida, all they have to do is win out and win the SEC championship, and they're in the playoffs. But even if they get another loss, they're still going to the SEC championship. And if that were to happen and then they beat Alabama, and I know I mentioned it before, do they put a 2-loss SEC champion Florida in the playoffs? That is a discussion worth mentioning if it happens. Kyle Trask, 30 for 43, 474 yards. The dude can sling. 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. Their defense held Stetson Bennett to 78 yards passing. Look, I knew Stetson Bennett was not a good quarterback, but Florida just made him look silly. And Florida really doesn't have that great of a defense, so that's almost embarrassing for Stetson Bennett. So Jamie Newman opting out for Georgia is looking worse and worse as each week passes. So Georgia out of the playoff race, Florida firmly in, and they are also awarded my bragging rights trophy. Another team, my third team that I'm awarding a bragging rights trophy to is Indiana. This team came out of nowhere. If you predicted this happening, then I need to get a hold of you because you might know the winning lottery numbers because I didn't even see this coming. Indiana whoops up on Michigan 38-21, and I know Michigan is not a great team, but for Indiana to beat Michigan in football, that's a pretty big deal. And it all centers around their quarterback, Michael Penix. He was 30 for 50, 342 yards, and 3 touchdowns. But they have 2 very tough road games at Ohio State and at Wisconsin if Wisconsin can get healthy. And right now, a lot of teams are having some issues with COVID outbreaks. 3 or 4 teams in the SEC right now. So hopefully they can get better and get back into the Big Ten race because they've had to cancel their last 2 games. So Indiana, my 3rd team to grab a bragging rights trophy. They are 3-0. They're number 10 in the nation, and they will get tested at Ohio State and Wisconsin. The final team, my 4th team that gets awarded a bragging rights trophy for this week is going to be Liberty. This team is looking really, really good. And on offense, it centers around one person, and that is their quarterback, Malik Willis. He is obviously their best quarterback and their best running back. This dude can run the ball as well. On his passing stats, he was 20 for 30 for 217 yards and 3 touchdowns. For rushing, he was 19 carries for 108 yards and 1 touchdown. He outdueled Hendon Hooker. If you go back and look at the stats for Hendon Hooker, that dude had himself a game as well, but somehow Malik Willis outdueled him, and he looks great. I'm wondering why these 2 quarterbacks are not in the Heisman race because, well, especially Malik Willis because his team's undefeated. Liberty's beating teams that they have no business beating. They're better than even I expected. Even the first game of the year, I had them losing to Western Kentucky. So if I told you that I saw Liberty coming, I would be lying. I had no idea. So Liberty beats Virginia Tech 38-35 in a crazy, crazy game. Y'all need to go back and Google that and watch the ending of the game. It is worth a Google. And Liberty climbs up to number 22 in the polls. And if they go undefeated, they'll have, and all these are road wins. Every single name I'm about to mention would be road wins. At Syracuse, which happened. At Virginia Tech, which happened. And then the 2 left at NC State and then at Coastal Carolina. That would be an impressive resume. So I'll be very interested to see what bowl Liberty goes to because they have no bowl tie-ins and they're not part of a conference. So let's recap the bragging rights trophy winners. First team, Notre Dame. Second team, Florida. Third team, Indiana. And my 4th and final team, Liberty. So next week I'll have some more bragging rights trophies to hand out. But right now, those are the first 4 teams ever to be awarded my bragging rights trophy.